All right, so let's continue going through my blogging journey where I'm reviewing all my 20 years of blogging. I'm going like year by year and seeing what kind of memories certain posts will bring back and what kind of lessons learned since then. Last time we finished 2006. So let's move on to 2007. All right. Move my face out of the way here. Go from the bottom up. Using TimeSnapper for more than helping with timesheets. This was 2007. I don't think this tool is still around, or is it? No, it is. Where did all your time go? They do have a version for the Mac. Still looks like the same one from almost 20 years ago. So this tool was back in the day used to like take screenshots at regular times, like every however like 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It would configure that. So we would be taking screenshots and people would use that to figure out where their time went as they were working so that they could fill out their timesheets. And then it would like summarize into some sort of a report, but also it allowed you to replay, like finding a calendar on the calendar, what you're trying to identify. You would see like some gaps, like, oh, I was working from here to here, and then there was a big gap, and then I resumed here. You could ponder what was that big gap, for example. Did I get distracted with something else or interrupted by somebody or by something? And you could replay that section. It would play those, um, screen captures real quick so that you could like easily ramp up to whatever you were before. And I used to use it for a slightly different way, which was to uh, pick back up from wherever I left off before the previous interruption. So it would be capturing as I was working. Maybe I was interrupted. When I came back, like, what was I working on? What was the last thing I did? Well, I could go back to just like the few minutes before the interruption, replay it. It would replay within a few seconds, and I could go like, oh, okay, now I remember what I was doing. That's what I was doing or using it for. I haven't used it in many years now, and I also think I remember like at the time I was only using two screens. Um, Nowadays, like right now, I'm looking at four screens. To have it capture every one of those screens, I don't know how effective that would be, but I don't know. Maybe the reason why I haven't used it in a long time is because I have changed the way I deal with interruptions, where I'm taking note of important things so that I know what I did, and I usually plan out to figure out what the next things are that I need to be, and I've been finding my way like that. So maybe that's why I haven't felt a need to use a similar tool. I used that tool for many years, but at the same token, I have not used for many years. Well, interesting. Okay. Uh, what is that? Certifications. Studying for the Visual Studio 2005 certifications for .NET 2.0. Okay, so yeah, starting to study for those certifications and trying to understand all the different types of certifications. Uh, hmm. there were some of the following exams. And then for the 2.0, and then what the changes were. Okay, so this was me making sense out of those certifications at the time. Okay, so that was because around the time with my coworkers, we had a study group. We would grab the same book to prepare for a certification. We would get together every week to go over the chapter or chapters. We would sit down for maybe an hour to work through some of the examples, ask questions and things like that. For me, I was not too keen on the certification part. Getting certified was not something that appealed to me. It was the learning together. That was the main thing I got from that. Because also during learning, doing the studying based on the questions, the explanations, uh, I had that in my mind, like, okay, this subject here that I am struggling with, I know that Joe over here is really good at. Or counter to that, I know that Mary over there may have difficulties with this topic, which I think I know and I can help. So I would make these connections, and later, that helped in our daily work. So that's what I remember from that. And I remember like the books, like the red covers that they had, and they were thick books. And I remember, which came back decades later, um, how much of a visual thinker I am, because I remember some coworkers walking up to me to ask me questions about something in our job, and I would say, in our library, there is a book kind of red on the side. It says the following thing, like in the first third of the book, there's a page on the right that has an image and a few bullet points. That's where the answer to that question is. They would ask, how do you know? It's like, I just remember that I saw it there. And sure enough, they said, yeah, that's where it is. I would help, them find precisely what I was mentioning. It was an interesting revelation for me at the time. It wasn't until years later that I realized just it's because how I think. So that was it for 2007, huh? Only two posts. In the first video, I mentioned like the thing about consistency. Yeah, I've been consistently blogging over the years, but within individual years, maybe not so much. Um, oh, and that was January, right? Two posts in January. So let's go. Let's see. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So 2007, at least one blog post every month. So that was better than 2006 already. Okay. What is that? Those regular expressions again. I think it was in 2005 I had a post about that, or maybe early 2006. Um, yeah, code talks, right? Make the code expressive. And then at that time, I said, I thought to myself, oh, if code talks, this one swears, right? When I'm reading code like this, and then I go and I see stuff like that, it looks like cartoon swearing. Um, yeah, the old LINQ. Yeah, using XML comments to document that. Oh, and that's when I was using constants to have, like, to name the individual parts of the expression, something like that. Yeah, that was one way to do it at the time. Studying for that exam, MCTS. Don't remember even what that stood for. But yeah, I was studying for that. Good free book on code review. Does this still take us anywhere? I still have this book. I seem to remember there was like a research based book. It's taken a while. Maybe it's not around anymore. But yeah, just finished reading it a few weeks ago. It's a good read, provides good insights about the different kinds of code review a company could use. Yeah, I still have this book. I need to flick through the pages again to see how much of it stuck with me. Framework Design Guidelines book. I remember that was a pretty good book on the guidelines for the .NET framework. A lot of the FXCOP rules that I mentioned in the previous video were grounded in the guidelines from this book. Does it still have a link to it? Yep, that was the one. Yeah, I remember that one. That was it. February. Let's see. March. Whoops. 2007. Oh, looks like a little bit more on that one. LINQ. Can I have it now? Yeah, so I had been using an alpha version and then a beta version of LINQ. Like, wow, this is awesome. There's only one problem with it. It's not released yet. I really want it and I want it now. That was my thing. Seeing the and experimenting with LINQ before it came out. Yeah, I was blown away. I really enjoyed it. It is something that, yeah, it's second nature when I'm using programming in C#. From the Tulsa Code Camp to Seattle for the MVP Summit. Yeah, I remember speaking at the Tulsa Code Camp, having a good time there, and then going from there to the MVP Summit. I don't remember any specifics. Yeah, some parties. Interesting. That's been a while. Yeah, that was a time when I was flying a lot, traveling a lot. Slides and simple code from the code camp. That MVP thing. Yeah, I remember during all the years that I received the Microsoft MVP award, people would ask, how do I get me one of those MVP things? Even though, there you go, I didn't know the other three. Oh yeah, where there was some information about that here. Historical information. I wonder if that's still up. Yeah, of course. Old thing, not on that link anymore. Thank you, Fox team, for the great tool I've used for many years. Oh, 2007 March. This week, Microsoft officially announced there won't be a new version of Visual FoxPro. Is that link still active? Yeah. That was the announcement that most people had been afraid of, right? Working in FoxPro and, hearing here and there that maybe we wouldn't see a new version. And VFP9 was the last one. Yeah, had been quite involved. Ooh, I talked a little bit about my story here. Let's see. Started around time when I was 15. DBase 4, DBase 3 Plus was actually the first one that I messed with for uh, just a little while. Lotus 123, Clipper. After seeing some code in Kobo, I was glad there was something so cool like Clipper around. Yeah. Then getting into FoxPro, Windows programming, VB3. What is it? VB just simply sucked really bad at doing that. Oh, doing all database applications. Remember that. Visual FoxPro, some FoxPro 2X doesn't need those. I mentioned this the last few years. Anytime somebody says, "Oh, you can put a ticket in ADO," like ADO, that doesn't make sense. Well, that has become Azure DevOps. In my mind, ADO still goes back to active data objects, because I remember going from DAO to RDO to ADO, and that was all around accessing data from the old VB days through .NET. We have ADO.NET still around, and yet we have Azure DevOps, which confuses me. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know that a little bit of my own personal journey is captured here. Yep. And that's it. Now I have a bus to catch to head to the airport. All the traveling that was happening. What is this one? Do's and don'ts of LINQ. Yeah, LINQ for objects, LINQ for SQL, LINQ for XML. When we used to talk about it that way. Big thing that I remember, like anything that you can do a for each on, you can query. Because most everybody was talking about just thinking of it from the standpoint of querying data from the backend, from the database. Interesting that I've been pondering a lot around like how in this industry we're obsessed with data. Everything we default to thinking of data, and that was a realization. Like, yeah, everybody's talking about LINQ from the perspective of querying tables, rows in a database, and that was a big realization for me with LINQ. Anytime you have an array of something, in this case, controls in some sort of UI, when we're doing a for each and doing an if whatever, and then setting it to a certain condition, well, really here we are querying those. It's like that is. It became so obvious at the time, and a lot of people were not seeing that. So yeah, I remember using LINQ for like anytime I would see an array of whatever, using LINQ for that. Now at the time I was using query expression, query comprehension, and I just saw a post on LinkedIn yesterday about that, like how some people still use it that way, prefer it that way, and you notice, and I think I responded on that it had been a while since I used that syntax for LINQ. Back here I was still using it, but later I changed that approach, right? Instead of using this, using method chaining or chained methods, more fluent. And I wonder where it's going to start showing up, right? So this is March of 2007. Let's see when the examples are going to change as I kept writing. What is that? Hey, finally got into Windows Live Writer. Windows Live Writer was an offering from Microsoft. It was a blog editor, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. which was kind of nice because it made it very easy to write blog posts, put the drafts, push it up, stay in draft, editing. It had a whole bunch of different plugins to incorporate different contents in your blogs, and then finally publish the blog post. It was really nice. I remember when I first moved to the Mac in 2011, that was a tool that I missed right off the bat. That I wanted to have something on the Mac and there wasn't. I don't know what's with that image. Uh, I guess it's when those filters became popular, or I became aware of those filters, and yeah, I like having fun like that. What is this? DevTeach 2007, Montreal, Canada. I yeah, I've been there in 2003, 4, 5. I couldn't make 2006 visa issues. I don't remember what the issues were. Maybe I didn't get them done in time. And then went back in 2007. I think I spoke at DevTeach for 6 or 7 years. Most of them were in Montreal. Loved it. Loved the city, the place. It was such a beautiful. It is such a beautiful place. The other time I think was Toronto, maybe. And I always enjoyed speaking at that conference. Um, yeah, yeah. The organization of that conference was so well put together. Uh, I really miss events like that. Haven't had conferences like that, or at least that I'm aware of. And I guess at some point I lost interest in just the too much traveling. Are you a tools, settings, shortcuts freak? Okay, yeah, me looking over people's shoulders and seeing how they use their tools. Yeah, the point I used to make, like, buying a brand new car, you sit there and you don't even adjust, you know, the mirrors, the seats to your own liking before you get to enjoy your new tool. I see the same thing. I saw the same thing, like people using Visual Studio and other IDEs and tools. Whereas I always took my time to learn at least a little bit of the shortcuts for the tool that I use most of my day. Uh, oh, and I was putting together. Interesting. So I've been giving talks on productivity tools, and for developers specifically, and then I branched out into for anybody using a computer. And that's where it started. That post yeah, was when I started collecting information and tips to be sharing as a presentation that year. Cool. And what is that? Find yourself a launcher program now. So that was back in the Windows days. Yeah, it was painful to see people going to start all programs, some folder, click, oh, I'm on the wrong spot, go back. Just how ineffective a lot of computer users were at the time, and some of them still are. At the time, I found this Slick Run. Is that link still active? Yeah, there's still a place to download that, but it is like on the Mac right now. Or not right now, for 14 years I've been using Alfred as an application launcher. Some people use what is it, Spotlight? I don't even know what that one, the native one on the Mac. I'm pretty sure it's very powerful. I'm used to Alfred, but at the time I was using Slick Run. That was the thing. That was the bomb. Scott Hanselman had some other launcher tools. So yeah, I cannot live without a tool. That's been a while. March 2007, April 2007. Let's see here. And yeah, I may wrap up here to keep this video within 30 minutes. Yeah, as the years go by and my frequency in blogging went up, it will take me a while to get through all of this. But then again, I'm doing this to revisit things. I'm recording this. I'm going to be getting an AI transcription of this to just attach it to my personal acknowledgement system. And maybe this will be interesting to others out there. If anything, I know it will be helpful for me. So if you're watching, thank you. Webcast for the Visual Basic user group. Okay, I gave a presentation there. Audio educator website. Okay, yeah, I gave a talk there. I don't remember these things. Are these even? Yeah, no, those links don't even exist anymore. I don't remember. I think the talk was like object-oriented programming, and I gave it to the VB, Visual Basic group, at the time. What is that? Making better use of the Windows taskbar. Yeah, so instead of just using like that, I remember I switched into like making it like 2 rows, so I could have the icons, the address bar to type something there and launch it from there, like folder navigation and things like that, besides the applications that were currently open. Switching different keyboard layouts. Yeah, the tools that I used most often, how I could navigate from there, like desktop, and do all the folder navigation without going to Windows Explorer. I remember blowing people's minds when they saw me do this. Like, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? It's like, it's right there, buddy. If you add your desktop, you can navigate from there. Yeah, navigating to folders directly from there, searching the desktop, locking that in place. Yeah, when was that? April 2007. Cool. What is that? Sysinternals. That they Sysinternals still around. That was a Microsoft thing. Yeah, right. It still is, with a whole bunch of different tools for Windows. Very useful. The one I used all the time was Zoomit. If I'm on my PC on Windows, I will still use it. On the Mac, I got similar tool. Yep, Zoomit, also called Zoomit. Just a way to easily, when I'm giving presentations, to quickly zoom into parts of the screen, freeze, do some drawing, annotation. So giving presentations, it was essential. Everybody would always ask during or at the end of presentations, what tool is that you're using there? Zoomit. They had a process explorer, which was kind of nice. There was a file monitor to see what files are being used. Auto runs, cleaning up the things that we didn't even know when we started Windows, the applications that were running automatically, and there was more. Yeah, so that's still around. Probably some useful tools there as well. The Dallas Code Camp. I remember that one. So I live in Houston right now. At the time, I lived in still lived in Houston, about a 4-hour drive to the venue there in Dallas. the topics: Introduction to LINQ, Data Design Patterns in .NET. Um, you know what I remember about, why I remember about that one specifically? Um, my good friend Tim Rayburn, still an improver, um, and he was organizing that code camp. This happened on a Saturday. I drove out there Saturday morning, took the 4-hour drive, got there to give my 2 talks in the morning, right? And then Tim had organized it so that there was a jar and people would put some sort of notes. I don't remember if it was for like a draft for prizes and a drawing for prizes or something like that, but they would put, oh yeah, they would write down which session they wanted to have a retake in the afternoon, because maybe they heard about the session and they would like to attend it, or because there were like parallel sessions going on, people would choose one but also wanting to attend the other one. And when I came out of my second session right before lunch, uh, Tim said, "Hey Claudio, so you know the thing that we're doing about the attendees asking for a repeat of sessions? Look at the 2 most voted ones." And I looked and they were my talks. Both of them were the top voted. He said, "Can you do at least one of them?" I said, "I'll do both. I'm already out here." So that's is a moment that I remember fondly of, because I remember I worked on putting together those talks, and I I tried to give people as much content, useful content as possible. People who came into those talks um, spoke good things in the hallways about it, and more people wanted to attend the talk. So I did do a repeat. It was funny. Also because when presenting, I tend to get loud, and so does Tim, and we were like presenting on rooms that just shared a wall, and it was kind of funny because we kind of like could overhear us through the walls there. Great times. Yeah, I remember that one very fondly. What is this? Screen capture. Yeah, I'm this week I had a conversation with a group of people, making sure that they had some sort of screen capture, screen clipping tool, and they knew how to use it. Because for the longest time, right, on Windows, you could hit print screen to take a screenshot. Um, yeah, pressing Alt print screen to capture only the active window. I remember it was something that not everybody knew they could do. At the time, I was using Microsoft OneNote, which also had a shortcuts for screen clipping, and then Snagit. Snagit is my favorite tool for snapshots. When was that? 2007. We are in 2025. The tool that I'm using to record this video is Snagit, so I still use it because of all the different ways you can clip regions, areas, scrolling windows. And then since then, like at the time, it was mostly for images. Oh, there was also already for video. Good. It just kept getting better and better. I know that I've tried different tools here and there, always experimenting, seeing if there's anything that's gonna give me something that I don't currently have, and I keep going back to Snagit. Do you know how to capture text on a message box? I remember this was on Windows. I should try that on my Windows machine. But since Windows 3.1, way back in the day, whenever a message box came up, I would see people take a screenshot and send it over. And what they were interested in was just the text on that message box. So they would have to like retype, not realizing that if you hit Control C in a message box in Windows, by default, it would take whatever text was shown on that message box and put it in a clipboard, and you could paste it someplace else. So this was like around the time when Windows XP and then later Windows Vista, and I kept showing this at my productivity talk, and people would go like, how long has that been there? And my response was like, I started using Microsoft Windows in version 3.1, coming out of DOS. This was already there. And people would go like the funny little tricks you find when you have a good use case for it. Right? I don't memorize these things because it's like, oh, they are cool. It's like, just know they are useful, and this is why and when I use them. And oh yeah, this post I totally remember. What does your start menu look like? Optimizing things for finding things around is what this one post was about. Yeah, so I could like from my start menu find my things was one. And then this is so funny. Organizing windows in multiple monitors. That's going to be the last post we'll be looking at right now. This is going way over the time I thought I was going to be taking for this. But 2007, organizing multiple monitors. By then, it had been about 6 or 7 years since I started using multiple computer screens. By then, I had formed my opinions as to how I wanted to organize and use my monitors. So I put together, because I observed how people would use Visual Studio with multiple monitors, and like this is what I call like kind of claustrophobic, like it's a whole lot of stuff to deal with. And some people would have it like this, where on the left the toolbox wouldn't show anything meaningful because that's for like UI controls, and if you're seeing code, that does not apply anyways. And then this thing on the right, the same thing, that's properties for UI controls that you have selected. Well, if you're editing code, you don't need any of that and the thing at the bottom. And the thing that you really need is the code. You had to like scroll, and I still see people do that, like where they have to scroll horizontally, vertically a lot because they have just this constricted area to work on. And I would totally change that. Like on one monitor, I have the, like if I'm working on some UI thing, the UI controls, the toolbox, the surface that I'm working on. And then on the other monitor, all of the extra screens or windows that I use within the tool to make it easy to find, but it's out of my way as I'm working. And then I explained my reasoning behind what I was seeing there on the side. Switching the layouts, there was an add-on in Visual Studio so that I could alternate between like presentation mode and daily work type of thing. And this is what I said, like at the time my ultimate hardware setup would be that 3 monitors. That was like beautiful. As I said, right now I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 computer screens here. The vertical monitors, I think I tried a long time ago. I didn't like it. Maybe I want to try it again because with the screen resolutions got better. It may give me something that at the time didn't resonate, didn't click with me. Right now, everything I have is horizontal. Maybe I need to give it a shot, see if I like nowadays. But yeah, that is still a post. It's one of those when people ask me and they say, "Oh, you have a very interesting way to organize your screens and everything. Where can I find out more?" Type of thing. I still point them to this because the tools that I use are different. Like I don't no longer use Visual Studio, but if I'm using Rider, if I'm using Cursor, Windsurf, if I'm using anything, I still have that mindset. Depending on the work that I'm doing, I think about it. How do I want to put down, structure my screen's layout to make it more productive? And I think about why does it make me more productive? Is there any way to make it better? But that is it. So this is April of 2007. So it took me 42 minutes to go through 4 months in 2007. So this will be a long journey. It has been 20 years. So I'll get back to this whenever that is. It may be tomorrow, a few days from now, not on a rigid schedule. All right, later.